Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into something absolutely wild today. We're unpacking this deeply spiritual and honestly kind of intense concept from our source material about the unseen cosmic consequences of betrayal. Now, we aren't just talking about your standard anger or hurt feelings here. No, we're looking at a framework that treats betrayal as a massive disruption of cosmic order. Basically, according to the spiritual lens, there are some incredibly heavy consequences when you cross a certain type of person. It's a really compelling look at justice, energy, and transformation, and we're going to break the whole shebang down right now.
Let's kick things off with this quote straight from the text. It says, "The silence of a chosen one is not a sign of weakness, it is a warning." Honestly, this perfectly sets up the deep psychological stakes we're dealing with today. Normally, if someone goes quiet after being wronged, we kind of just assume they've given up, right? Like they've accepted defeat. But this philosophy flips that entirely on its head. It argues that when this specific type of person goes completely silent, they aren't retreating because they're weak. They're actually stepping back to let something way bigger, something literally cosmic, take the wheel.
Section 1. Who are the chosen ones? Recognizing a divine frequency.
Okay, so to really grasp how this works, we first need to figure out who exactly these individuals are. According to the transcript we're analyzing, a chosen one isn't just somebody who is, exceptionally nice or super talented. The source material actually defines them as individuals who carry a divine purpose, a rare energy, and a sort of cosmic protection. The idea here is that these folks are walking around with a mission that's practically hardwired into their soul before they even arrive on Earth. So, when you're interacting with them, you aren't just dealing with an everyday person. You are, in theory, messing with a protected, energetic force.
And because of that, they are operating on a completely different spiritual frequency. The text really hammers home that these are not your ordinary run-of-the-mill interactions. Because they're on this elevated frequency, the usual rules of engagement just do not apply. I mean, wrong an ordinary person, and you get ordinary human consequences, right? An argument, a grudge, maybe some retaliation. But betray someone on this divine frequency? The source argues the blowback becomes spiritual, karmic. The universe itself literally steps in to handle it.
Section 2. The illusion of betrayal, the false victory.
So, what actually happens right after the betrayal goes down? Well, this brilliantly illustrates that immediate aftermath. On one side, you've got the betrayer who is feeling super victorious and powerful. They genuinely believe they just outsmarted fate and manipulated their way to the top. But then you look at the chosen one and they don't just magically shrug it off. The source is actually super clear about this. They experience temporary grief, total confusion, and the really painful sting of reality. They love deeply, so betrayal cuts them deep. It's a stark contrast, right? A total delusion of victory for the betrayer and raw human grief for the chosen one. But as we'll see, that victory is a complete illusion.
Section 3. The karmic mirror effect. Cosmic cause and effect.
That illusion of victory completely shatters when we get to this next phase, because this is where the universe steps in to balance the scales. It all boils down to one simple mechanism. The energy you send is the exact energy reflected back at you. Basically, picture the chosen one as this massive, heavy karmic mirror. According to the text, their pure essence naturally repels darkness. Send them love, you get love back. But if you throw deception and harm their way, that dark energy doesn't stick to them. It hits that mirror, bounces off, and flies straight back to the sender in full force. The crazy part, the chosen one doesn't even have to lift a finger. It's just an automatic, cosmic law of cause and effect.
In fact, the source material describes this with a really dramatic claim. When you betray someone who is divinely protected, you are writing a contract with the universe. And look, the author isn't using a metaphor here. They are talking about a literal, inescapable spiritual contract. By messing with that divine order, the betrayer signs a debt. And the universe? Well, it's a debt collector that absolutely always collects its due, whether that's through failing relationships, a total loss of peace, or just sudden unexplainable misfortune.
Section 4. The spiritual void, the unseen downfall.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline, because the punishment isn't just, a streak of bad luck. It gets so much darker and way more internal. Let's trace this slow erosion of the betrayer's life once they lose that protective shield of the chosen one. Day 1, as we mentioned, is the illusion of victory. They think they've won, but fast forward to month 1, and boom, loss of divine favor. Things that used to just work for them suddenly break down. Inspiration completely dries up. Then, by year 1, we hit the unshakable void. They realize that the chosen one's energy was actually propping them up the whole time, and without it, they're lost. All of which inevitably leads to the future stage, final regret, where it finally clicks that they threw away an absolute blessing.
Let's talk more about that void at year 1. It's described as a deep, unshakable emptiness that absolutely no amount of material gain can fill. The source insists that because the betrayer essentially severed their tie to something pure, any external success they managed to grab just feels hollow. They could get the promotion, the money, the status they plotted so hard for, but the joy? It's just totally gone. They're left stuck in this intense, unseen isolation.
Section 5. The Chosen One's Ascension. Using betrayal as fuel.
Now, what's really fascinating here is what's happening to the Chosen One while the betrayer is sinking into that void. Instead of being crushed, the betrayer actually forces them to elevate. Look at this transformation. They shed old illusions about who they can trust. Their inner wisdom gets incredibly sharp. Their intuition strengthens. It completely aligns them with their true purpose, and eventually they become spiritually unreachable. They don't just survive and go back to normal, they level up to a totally new dimension of their own power.
Honestly, the heartbreak becomes the exact catalyst they need for their next level of success and power. They don't just get through the pain, they actively use it as rocket fuel. The source explains something crucial here. The Chosen One was never the weak link. They were always the primary energy source in that relationship. So, once that energy stops being drained by the betrayer, the Chosen One is finally free to redirect all of it into their own phenomenal explosive growth.
Our final section, the final unseen consequence, the prison of regret.
So we reach the end of the line, where these paths permanently split. You have the Chosen One, thriving, glowing brighter, and just stepping into this unimaginable level of abundance. They've entirely outgrown the situation. And the betrayer? They're left literally watching from the shadows. The source describes them as being haunted by the loss of this priceless blessing. It's this tragic realization that they could have been part of that amazing upward trajectory, but they chose destruction instead. So now, they're just trapped in a self-made prison of regret.
And if you're sitting there wondering, well, can they ever make up and fix it? The text completely slams that door shut. It says, once a Chosen One ascends, they do not come back down. Talk about brutal finality, right? According to this spiritual law, when the universe closes a door, it stays locked. The Chosen One isn't out there seeking revenge, but they sure aren't entertaining the past either. They simply rise and leave the people who wronged them exactly where they belong, in the rearview mirror.
Which brings us to the very end of our explainer today. I really want to leave you with this question to chew on. Have you ever evolved so far beyond those who wronged you that their eventual regret just no longer mattered? It's such a provocative thought about how we process hurt, how we think about karma and justice, and ultimately how we choose to rise above it all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this deep dive today. Keep learning, keep evolving, and I'll catch you next time.